The Pink. There once was a queen who had not been blessed with children. She prayed every morning as she walked in her garden that a son or daughter might be given to her. Then one day an angel came and said to her, "Be content, you shall have a son, and he shall be endowed with the power of wishing, so that whatsoever he wishes for shall be granted to him." She hurried to the king and told him the joyful news. When the time came, a son was born to them, and they were filled with delight. Every morning the queen used to take her little son into the gardens where the wild animals were kept to bathe him in a clear, sparkling fountain. It happened one day when the child was a little older that as she sat with him on her lap, she fell asleep. The old cook, who knew that the child had the power of wishing, came by and stole it. The child or the wishing? He also killed a chicken and dropped some of its blood on the queen's garments. Then he took the child away to a secret place where he placed it out to be nursed. So it's not a child, it's a baby. Yes? Okay. Okay, so still like a baby. Got it? Then he took the child away to a secret place where he placed it out to be nursed. Then he ran back to the king and accused the queen of having allowed her child to be carried off by a wild animal. Right, because there are all kinds of wild animals right there. Being kept. That's confusing. The gardens where the wild animals were kept. So it's kind of like a wild zoo, but it's garden. I wouldn't. I'm not so sure about that one. When the king saw the blood on the queen's garments, he believed the story and was overwhelmed with anger. He caused a high tower to be built, into which neither the sun nor the moon could penetrate. Then he ordered his wife to be shut up in it and the door walled up. She was to stay there for 7 years without eating or drinking, so as gradually to pine away. But 2 angels from heaven, in the shape of white doves, came to her, bringing food twice a day till the 7 years were ended. Meanwhile, the cook thought, if the child really has the power of wishing, and I stay here, I might easily fall into disgrace. So he left the palace and went to the boy, who was then old enough to talk, and said to him, "Wish for a beautiful castle with a garden and everything belonging to it." Hardly had the words passed the boy's lips, than all that he had asked for was there. There's actually a really good, though quite adult, well, it's a grown-ups movie, but it has to do with a man who goes to a psychologist with the story that everything that he dreams comes true. And the psychologist doesn't believe him at all, but works through some of the conversation over the next several sessions to have it tested, essentially. And he learns that it's actually true, that this man who came to him can actually have dreams and even control his dreams a little bit and actually make changes in the world. So it's kind of the same thing. Like, he can make wishes, dream it, and it happens in the world. And it turns out that's a really bad idea, because the psychologist actually learned to take advantage of that. And there are consequences for controlling somebody else for their wishes. After a time, the cook said, "It is not good for you to be so much alone. Wish for a beautiful maiden to be your companion." How old is this kid? So he can talk, old enough to talk, like old enough to converse and understand what a wish is. So we're looking at what? Older than 5? I can imagine somebody who's like 6, 7, maybe that young. So, but he must be a lot older. Must be like 10 to 12, something like that. And then growing up after time, probably 12. Back then 12. So now it would be 18. Definitely 18. Maybe 21 in some places. So wish for a beautiful maiden to be your companion. Which is morally, ethically speaking, we would not do that. This is not a good idea. Even though she's made of wishes. The prince uttered the wish, and immediately a maiden stood before them, more beautiful than any painter could paint. So they grew very fond of each other and played together, while the old cook went out hunting like any grand gentleman. But the idea came to him one day that the prince might wish to go to his father sometime, and he would thereby be placed in a very awkward position. So he took the maiden inside and said to her, "Tonight, when the boy is asleep, go and drive this knife into his heart. Then bring me his heart and his tongue. If you fail to do it, you will lose your own life." So first, I thought that the old cook would actually convince the baby that he had taken that he's the father, or he's the adopted father, or whatnot. And I thought, what does it say here? Okay. They grew very fond of each other and played together. So they're either the same age, which is young, or the maiden is older. Now, if the maiden is old enough to kill him, then she's got to be... Then they've both got to be old enough. So they both have to be like... I mean, I'm imagining somebody who's a teenager at least, let's say. But if they're growing fond of each other and playing together, yeah, they'd still have to be quite young. Okay, so I'm thinking that they're quite young. Then he went away. That's the cook. Then he went away, but when the next day came, the maiden had not yet obeyed his command. She said, "Why should I shed his innocent blood when he has never done harm to any creature in his life?" The cook again said, "If you do not obey me, you will lose your own life." Do I have a... I do have a light on. Okay. When he had gone away, she ordered a young hind to be brought and killed. Then she cut out its heart and its tongue and put them on a dish. When she saw the old man coming, she said to the boy, "Get into bed and cover yourself completely." I want to learn what a hind is. Because I kind of suspect, but I don't know quite offhand. Let me open up. I apologize. Let us take a look. Like so? Like so. Hind is a female deer, especially a red deer. So what does this say? Okay. She ordered a young hind to be brought and killed. So a really, really young deer, hopefully with a heart the same size this time. So we've had problems with the sizes of hearts being quite wrong. When she saw the old man coming. So is the cook old now? Okay. The old scoundrel came in and said, "Where are the tongue and heart of the boy?" The maiden gave him the dish, but the prince threw off the coverings and said, "You old sinner, why did you want to kill me? Now hear your sentence. You shall be turned into a black poodle with a gold chain round your neck, and you shall be made to eat live coals so that flames of fire will come out of your mouth." Does the kid... Oh, because the boy learned that they can make wishes. Ooh, should have tricked the boy. Make sure he never knows he can do that. That he can actually make wishes. The maiden gave him the dish. Oh, sorry. As he said the words, the old man was changed into a black poodle with a gold chain round his neck, and the scullions brought live coals, which he had to eat till the flames poured out of his mouth. The prince stayed on at the castle for a time, thinking of his mother. He knows about his mother? Thinking of his mother and wondering if she were still alive. At last he said to the maiden, I am going into my own country. If you like, you can also go with me. I will take you. She answered, Alas, it is so far off, and what should I do in a strange country where I know no one? Well, I mean... I guess when she was wished into being, did she come with like a childhood and stuff? Where's she actually from? Where does she think she's from? Because she'll have childhood memories. So she's kind of in a strange country already. So what does it matter? As she did not wish to go, get it? She did not wish to go. As she did not wish to go, and yet they could not bear to be parted, he changed her into a beautiful pink, which he took with him. Oh, what? Okay, we're gonna stop. What does a pink mean? You know, I thought maybe, you know, like maybe I understood, kinda. What is pink? I know pink is a color. We get that. Pink is a pale red color that's named after a flower of the same name. It's not a film. It's not a song. It's not a periodical. A place? No. Aha! Well, that doesn't really help me. Okay. The Carnation is a German fairy tale. I'm reading that right now. Arne Thompson. Type 652. Oh, neato. Okay. Oh, the boy turned her into a pink. Okay. Pink is a reference to a flower. Carnation. Named after a flower. Oh, okay. So it's actually named after a carnation. Oh. Cool. Now I know what pink means. So pink is named after a flower called a pink or a common pink. This must be in use in the United Kingdom now, in Britain, in England. Okay, cool. We learned a thing. And see, it's always worth taking a time, taking a moment to think about the content of the story, like asking questions like how old is somebody, or where are they, or what were they thinking, what were they like. And also there's going to be it's obvious when reading something quite old that there's going to be ways of saying things and words that are either used differently or that aren't used anymore. And this is just the exact right way to... This is a great example of pausing to go and look something up, because there might be a whole lot of things that I would know, or that I would assume I know, right? That you would need to go and look something up when you're not, even when you're 100% sure. And it's not too big a problem for you to pause and just take a moment. Now that an encyclopedia is a search engine away, it's possible to take a moment to go and look something up really quick. And if it turns out that you're reading something frequently enough that you're pausing every once in a while, then it might be worth you reading that kind of thing and making sure that you have that encyclopedia, that dictionary nearby as well. So I can imagine that it would be less appropriate to read something like this, on a bus, because unless you can pause for a second and go and look something up really quick, go and learn something like this, you'll skim through and you'll lose out on these little moments where you get to learn some cool new thing. And this moment, the moment I'm spending right now, isn't for learning about writing necessarily, but it is something I think about. And learning all these little things is a great way of having a little bit of an encyclopedia in my brain, such that when I'm writing, I can draw on all these different ideas, not necessarily on the definition, but on, like, I can't know what learning this will do to me, how it will change my association to all these different other things. So maybe now I could be interested in learning about other colors or other flowers and how things are named. Like, why are all our other colors named the way they are? I never thought about that until just now, and maybe I could make an afternoon project out about learning about colors. So yeah, pausing just then really, really paid off, because maybe I would have thought that they're just calling it that for some reason, and I ignored it and just kept going. So yeah, I'm glad I took a moment. It paid off. I learned a thing. Okay. So where was I? That's one of the weird things. If you slap a bookmark in, I totally lose my place on a page, which turns out to kind of matter. Okay, so she doesn't want to go to a strange country. He changed her into a beautiful pink, which he took with him. Now, she didn't want to go, but he forced it. So he turned to her. So first, he kind of made her out of nothing. But now that she's real, and he's been treating her as real, turning her into a flower is not good. So don't wish for pretty maidens to be turned into flowers so you can kidnap them or anything like that. Are they married or anything yet? I don't think they're married, are they? I don't think they are. They're just kind of falling in love. Then he set out on his journey, and the poodle was made to run alongside till the prince reached his own country. So is this now a fire-breathing poodle with a gold chain? Okay. Then, okay. Made to run alongside. Okay, so is he in a carriage or something like that, and the dog is walking? Arrived there, he went straight to the tower where his mother was imprisoned. And as the tower was so high, he wished for a ladder to reach the top. This guy's not very good at making wishes. He should just wish for his mother to be out of the tower. Then he climbed up, looked in, and cried, "Dearest mother, Lady Queen, are you still alive?" How does he know about his mother? He could wish for that knowledge. She, thinking it was the angels who brought her food, said, "I have just eaten. I do not want anything more." Well, is she used to 2 meals a day? I hope they're big meals. Then he said, "I'm your own dear son, whom the wild animals were supposed to have devoured, but I am still alive, and I shall soon come and rescue you." Oh, so she can't climb out of the window down the ladder with him? Then he got down and went to his father. He had himself announced as a strange huntsman, anxious to take service with the king. The king said, so huntsman, there's always a huntsman. The king said, "Yes, if he is skilled in game preserving and can procure plenty of venison, I will engage him. But there has never before been any game in the whole district." Game preserving. Game preserving. Game preserving. I'm not sure what that means. You know, I wonder if that actually does mean a thing that just we don't use that anymore. What is game pervert? Game preservation. Oh. Maintaining a stock of game. Okay. Maintaining a stock of game. Okay, so what does that mean for us? What does that mean for us? Yes, if he's skilled in game preserving. Okay, so the king, so there's like a forest and stuff all around the king's kingdom. So all around the area. And so the king is worried about overhunting because there's nothing there. So if he said that this huntsman wants to go and hunt game for him, he can do it, but as long as he's so good at it that he doesn't like drive, in this case it's venison, extinct, which you can't do because there's already no game there at all, or maybe not enough to actually properly hunt. That's part of the reason why there would be illegal to hunt on the king's land, for the reason that people wouldn't understand or do or respect game preservation, I suppose, right? So that people would go and poach on the land that isn't theirs, and then the stock of wild animals would be so diminished that there wouldn't be, well, they would just leave the area or go extinct or whatnot because they're overhunted. Kind of like forestry is a lot like that. The huntsman promised to procure as much game as the king could possibly require for the royal table. Well, that's a nice dream. Then he called the whole hunt together and ordered them all to come into the forest with him. He caused a great circle to be enclosed, with only one outlet. Then he took his place in the middle and began to wish as hard as he could. Immediately, over 200 head of game came running into the enclosure. These the huntsman had to shoot, and when they were piled onto 60 country wagons and driven home to the king. And then, so for once he was able to load his board with game. And after having none for many years. Okay, so there's a phrase, I learned the word board because I know that the term room and board, we use it in like, if you rent, not like a hotel room, but if you rent like a little out of the way, small town kind of place, you get room and board. So you get a room, so you're renting a room for a little while, and it comes with board, which is food and drink. So you get breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. For some places, it's maybe only one meal, like it's a breakfast. But proper room and board is you get everything you need to live there while you're there. So that's how I know the phrase room and board. So that's how I know what he means by. Oh, it's been an hour. That's how I know the word board. There we go. The king was much pleased and commanded his whole court to a banquet on the following day. When they were all assembled, he said to the huntsman, "You shall sit by me, as you are so clever." He answered, "My lord and king, may it please your majesty, I am only a poor huntsman." The king, however, insisted and said, "I command you to sit by me." As he sat there, his thoughts wandered to his dear mother, and he wished one of the courtiers would speak of her. Hardly had he wished it, than the Lord High Marshal said, "Your Majesty, we are all rejoicing here. How fares it with Her Majesty the Queen? Is she still alive in the tower, or has she perished?" But the king answered, "She allowed my beloved son to be devoured by wild animals, and I do not wish to hear anything about her." I think he thinks he's dead, or she's dead. Then the huntsman stood up and said, "Gracious father, she is still alive, and I am her son." He's also the king's son. Ugh. "I was not devoured by wild animals. I was taken away by the scoundrel of a cook. He stole me while my mother was asleep, and sprinkled her garments with the blood of a chicken. Then he brought up the black poodle with the golden chain and said, 'This is the villain.'" What? Oh, okay, good. I read ahead. I'll admit it. Okay. He ordered some live coals to be brought, which he made the dog eat in the sight of all the people till the flames poured out of his mouth. Then he asked the king if he would like to see the cook in his true shape, and wished him back, and there he stood in his long white apron, with his big knife at his side. The king was furious when he saw him, and ordered him to be thrown into the deepest dungeon. Then the huntsman said further, "My father, would you like to see the maiden who so tenderly saved my life when she was ordered to kill me? Although by doing so she might have lost her own life, but she's technically not real." I mean, so she's alive and living and everything and stuff because she was made from a wish. She wasn't kidnapped from the wish, was she? The things we think about. The king answered, "Yes, I will gladly see her." Then his son said, "Gracious father, I will show her to you first in the guise of a beautiful flower." He put his hand into his pocket and brought out the pink. It was a finer one than the king had ever seen before. Then his son said, "Now I will show her to you in her true form." The moment his wish was uttered, she stood before them in all her beauty, which was greater than any artist could paint, because she was made from a wish. The king said ladies and gentlemen in waiting to the tower to bring the queen back to his royal table. But when they reached the tower, they found that she would no longer eat or drink. She said, "The merciful God, who has preserved my life so long, will soon release me now," because she's going to die. 3 days afterwards, she died. Told ya. At her burial, the 2 white doves which had brought her food during her captivity followed and hovered over her grave. The old king caused the wicked cook to be torn into 4 quarters, but his own heart was filled with grief and remorse, and he died soon after. His son married the beautiful maiden he had brought home with him as a flower, and for all I know, they may be living still.